So, hey, how was the weekend?
Well, great. Got a little
Huh?
bike ride in, and the kids got to horseback ride, which was amazing.
Yeah, I
How
was
about
just
you?
thinking we typically touch base so much. Like, I almost know like how your weekend is, and it just occurred to me this morning. Like, we've just been going rock solid, full steam. Last
Mhm.
5 days, 7 days, haven't touched base much. But same here. Kids doing their thing. Did some more running over the weekend. Something
Yeah.
I was like really wanted to bounce off you today. Like, I was just actually thinking about this is about pain. And, I've been trying to get into getting my running up, getting endurance up. And, so that involves when you're running, it involves quite a bit of pain. I don't know if you have that as well when you're biking, but there's definitely an element. I don't know if it's just me, if it's age, if it's what, but there's definitely an element of pain throughout all of this and different types that you have to manage. And as I was thinking about that and trying to do this stoic type, leave your body, think about what the pain is are you allowing the pain to affect you or are you doing things to affect the pain? I also started thinking recently about the alignment with that and how we hire for pain in the business, because it seems like when it comes to hiring for pain or dealing with pain points in the business, it propagates like really quickly. So you have no pain, or you have very, manageable idle state type normal pain that goes on. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, you're in the middle of something. And one team's like, I need two new people. And then another team's like, yeah, I need a person. And then every meeting that day, you're just hitting team after team saying, man, I don't know what's going on right now, but we just can't keep up. And, the KPIs are suddenly unmanageable anymore. Again, similar back to the running thing where like when you're thinking about it, you're thinking about it all over versus just feeling like, all right, I got the pace and life is manageable. Anything like that with you on the bike side, or am I just shooting completely in the dark here?
Yeah, a couple of different things. It's interesting the parallel with cardio fitness because I've developed a kind of completely different philosophy than what I used to think about. I followed a couple of guys that basically said most of the time you should really be training pretty low. You should not be killing yourself. And you should be building up that base, building up that capability to do work at a low level and just doing hours and hours and hours and hours of it. And it's boring AF sometimes, but that's what builds the base and lets you actually hit those peaks when you need to. And I think
Yeah.
that factors into the company side as well, in a way, right? Like you see building the processes, building the teams, that foundational work, putting in those reps, putting in the time lets you then have the structure to rise to the occasion and also have the structure so that you can add people without going backwards and making everything like a lot slower, which is a problem that you see a lot of times. You add people to a problem and then everything goes slower. So I think what we're seeing is an issue of growth and also an issue of seasonality kind of compounding on itself at the same time. And that's why you're seeing a lot of teams get hit at once. And what we normally would be able to do is rotate the teams a little bit and say, hey, this team is a little bit over. Maybe help desk has a lot of tickets coming in. Maybe another team can help them out. But right now, we're getting hit from all fronts because it's just a general increase across the board. I think that's also something that is underappreciated in the market as a whole because looking at 2022, 2023, vacation rentals were oversubscribed a little bit. Everybody dived in. So we had some consolidation in 2023, 24, where things started slowing down a little bit. 25 was kind of flat. We thought, okay, consolidation, maybe things are going down. Everybody's now thinking, oh, it's a bubble, things are, going to maybe crash. But I think there's a really decent possibility. I'm not going to say large, but I think it's over 50% that we're going to see a pretty big upswing this year between stuff like the World Cup, that consolidation coming back, a lot of the AI things that are able to allow people to compound their work, stuff like Resi. I think in the industry, there could be unexpected growth this year.
Interesting. Yeah, I something you said early on actually just really resonated, which is, how do you think about the pain? Because one of the things that you and I have talked about a long time ago, and we've borrowed this concept from others, um, is you have to really lean into pain early on, and you have to measure that discomfort to see whether it is just low level discomfort or it really is pain. If you're only going to hire for pain, you have to know whether that's what you're experiencing or not. It could just be, some low level discomfort that you work through. And so you got to do the job yourself. If there's some painful thing in the company, pick up the phone, answer it like as the receptionist you would have hired, and see, okay, do you actually need a receptionist for this, or is there's something that a process, a force multiplier I could put in place so I don't need to hire for it? Because I've seen that too on the training and running side. Is this knee ache real pain? Should I run out and
Mhm.
get a compression sleeve? Should I go get that brace? Or is this just, well, you just need to strengthen your knee, bro? Like you're old and you haven't done this in a long time. You're deconditioned to what you're
Right.
doing now. And sure enough, there's been a whole bunch of things. I mean, there's blisters where, yeah, it starts showing very quickly. You need to put something on that. But there are other things like the aforementioned knee pain, which has been my thing, where you realize, like, no, you really just have weak knees, and some strength training and way you do recovery around that process and foam roll and whatever else can break that up. And then 2 weeks later, you're battling the other knee. So it's, running out and slapping some technology on it, on the knee, some brace or whatever, is you didn't need that. You needed to understand the pain. And so on the business side, I think that's happening too. I guess then I would wonder, so is the compounding effect of having, like, we need more engineering, and then you do more engineering, so you create more product, which means you need more testers. And then as it's getting out the door, you need more people in marketing and documentation talking about it. And then ultimately in customer support land, they're feeling the effects as well because you've got more out there. The factory has put out so much more that distribution and support are now have to catch up too. Are those things also, I mean, how much, as you start to see those things compound, how much do you need to sit back and measure and just handle the pain versus, like you're saying, build up the base? Where do you detect that it's pain you got to do something for, versus, you know, this will go away. We just got to stick it out. We got to build up the base more. We got to, do things that are maybe not hiring or slapping on what seems like an easy solution early on. How do you find that point?
Well, like you said, I think the key is feeling it yourself because as an owner or as someone higher up, you have the option to make changes. You have the option to say, "Hey, we don't need to do this anymore. Hey, this isn't useful. Let's do it another way." Whereas if you're doing a day-to-day task, your goal is to get that task done however it may be. And if you're not careful as you grow, you lose touch with that, right? When we were small, we felt that every day. If something was taking 10, 15 minutes 5 times a day that didn't need to be, we go fix that because that was annoying as all hell. But somebody that's in there doing it day to day, just getting their job done, if we don't have that connection, they're getting their job done. They have to, right? And they don't surf, if that doesn't surface it up to us, then you get a decreasing of efficiency over time and it just compounds on it, which is why once you start getting back into that mode where you are analyzing all of those things, feeling all of those things, trying to put out and have that nervous system, those reflexes that you once had just organically because you were in one body, creating that in a company where you have the culture driving that refinement, it starts to change. And that, strangely enough, also ties back to another philosophy that I've developed about fitness and talking about your knee injury or your braces or stuff like that. I realized a couple of different things when I had some chronic nagging injuries, and almost all of those end up being overuse injuries of one way or another. You're going too fast, too hard, too fast. And we don't realize is a lot of times what you think is an acute injury, like you went and you tore something, you went, and all of a sudden it's sore. actually wasn't at all. You have this liminal level where you start feeling it, but that's been building up for months and months and months. You've been under recovering and overusing for a while before it gets to the point where you actually, okay, now I'm in pain, right? It was a few months where you were using it too much and not recovering enough, not building up, whatever you were doing. And that's where having that kind of low level base is really important where you're not going in. It's super tempting as a hard charging guy like ourselves. Hey, let's go do high intensity stuff. Let's get in there. Let's get in, get out. But a lot of times doing the lower intensity stuff just for longer, the background stuff is really what you need to develop.
That's actually incredibly timely with actually something I'm going through right now, which is I was the other day I went to AI and I was like, "Am I my little marathon training program here, which is to say no training program at all. It's to say just stuff I've just pulled completely out of my ass." So, because I see people online or people like my brother, and I can I can do kind of what they do too. I can watch the cadence and how they run. So I started talking to AI about what is traditionally considered a good training program. What should you do day in, day out? And found like half of my assumptions were completely wrong. And I probed. I was like, "Are you sure about this, check that." And politely,
Yeah.
AI kept telling me, "No, this is actually not the way you should do it." By which I mean Claude specifically.
Right.
Um, Love Claude for that, by the way. Hate the sycophancy, although I think they've all fixed it. But the basically it was saying no. So exactly what you were just saying. And I just this past weekend did another half marathon. This is my third now in the last month, and I knees, everything just so sore. Like can't stand up. Recovery days the next day. It's just like man, you can walk and you can start getting the blood flow going. But like I see other people are doing recovery runs, 4 and 5 miles the next day, and there's just no way. I mean, I'm just too sore and stiff. And I started noticing where yeah, you're doing way too much. You need to do what's called conversational paces when you're in recovery. Conversational paces being can you actually speak or
Hmm.
sing or talk to somebody or whatever because that's how slow you're going.
Yeah.
That's the zone of heart rate that you're in, which I'd never heard of before. Probably something you've been well aware of for a long time. So I did that actually this morning. I did a 5 mile this morning and I tried to do conversation. I didn't even look at my pace, didn't look at the watch at all. I literally just started every so often talking out loud. Whatever the podcast was saying, it was New York Times Daily I was listening to, whatever they were saying, I would say every so often just to see if I could talk because I
That's a
had no
good
one
way to
with
do
me.
it. Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
right. What conversation am I going to have? So talk, sing. I probably look kind of silly going down the street, but um, it was like, can I do this without huffing and puffing and gasping for air? And then I noticed at the end I had like a 10-minute pace, which is before I would have been like, oh, that's embarrassing. I need, I got to push it.
Yeah.
And then I realized like, no, the plan here isn't what you think it is. You're completely wrong about the plan. And it's exactly what you just said. You said some line about how you're not properly recovering. The pain is there for illegitimate purposes. And you didn't realize this.
Yeah.
AI said that almost verbatim in one of the sentences. It was like, you're actually building low level fatigue over time. You're not actually recovering like you think you are. So you think those like 7.5, 8 minute paces on the 3 mile or 4 mile feel so good, and they do, but you're actually not coming out of that long one from the weekend correctly 3, 4 days later. So I was like, whoa, mind blown. I got to completely
Yeah.
redo this. So yeah.
100%. This is one of the reasons why I switched to biking a lot because I did running for a while and it was fine, but then I did start to overdo it. And I realized biking is a lot easier on your system. You can put down a lot more miles, a lot more hours. So I kind of went overboard and did almost exclusively biking. And now I'm getting back to the point where I want to be able to run. I want to be able to go play ultimate frisbee and do that. So I'm kind of slowly working up that on the side too. Like using my biking for maintaining a base and also starting to add in some running. You'll see on Strava, which is how we keep in touch a lot. I see your Strava, you see my Strava, I see what's up. But I started, just some run walk, which that's even walking is super good. Just having volume, a couple hours of walking that just makes the blood flow and does a lot of good stuff for you, even if you're not running. So working up for that cross training, really, really huge to build that
So
base.
bringing that same philosophy into business and hiring, and as the surge of the year has begun already, and we talk about the propagating of pain from one team to another. So another lesson here might be slowing down, letting yourself recover, from the rush and the things that you're already doing. And of course, I don't even need to give you a list of those. You probably already have them in your head thinking about the PM release, the big PMV2 release, the, of course, Resi going in full availability now. We've got many other things about ready to drop, many of which have been months in the building or they're at a final stage where they were in some beta form before. New broadcast feature coming out. So there's all kinds of great new stuff, team wise too, and culture wise. So maybe slowing down a little bit between some of that and settling in and allow that fatigue to go away in a proper way is a lesson here.
Yeah, I think that's a lesson we've been slowly learning. So been forced to kind of learn, but it's something that's become a bit of a motto, right? Like instead of just jumping to new things all the time, iterate on what we have. Take that, take a step back. Don't just jump to the next thing, make it better, make it better. The whole hip good concept that you came up with is really key there. And it takes a lot longer than you would think. And that's one of the reasons I am super excited about having vacation rental of my own again, because now I see where it ain't hitting good. I see that every day when I'm in there using the software. I start filing bugs or saying, hey, we need to get back into this area instead of breaking open a whole new thing, which is very exciting to do. But you have to have that base before you can do it.
Yeah, I fluctuated a little bit. As you know, I've kind of had some mood swings in the last couple weeks. If I thought about, oh, this new feature that we're talking about, oh, this would actually be good. This is something we talked about long ago. And then going back and then, oh, wait, the excitement of recovering and hitting good, as you're saying, recovering on some of the things we're already doing. We need to keep that feeling of excitement as well. So I think both. You have the features on your long runs on the weekend and your in recoveries, you're hitting good during the week.
Yeah, 100%. It's a good tie in.
All righty. I think that'll do it for today. We don't maybe even need that comment I just said. We got to figure out our
Yep,
outros at some point.
exactly. Thanks for listening to the Best Cup podcast. We're not the all in guys, but I think we're number two.
There you go.